Now to the U.S., where there have been legal developments affecting both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. First, to the former president, a federal judge has ruled that Mr. Trump can publicly share some non-sensitive evidence that will be used at his trial on charges of plotting to overturn the 2020 election. The special counsel Jack Smith's office had asked the judge to stop that from happening by imposing a protective order. Now, they pointed to messages posted by Mr. Trump on social media to argue that he might try to use details of the evidence to intimidate witnesses. Mr. Trump's legal team argued that such an order would impede his First Amendment rights to free speech. And then, in the last few hours, we had a major update into the investigation into Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. The Attorney General, Merrick Garland, announced that the prosecutor investigating Mr. Biden was being given the additional powers of a United States special counsel. David Weiss has handled the inquiry into Hunter Biden's business dealings since he was appointed by then-President Trump in 2018. Let's talk now to political poster Frank Lentz, who's joining us. Frank, it's good to see you again. I want to start with the developments that we saw for Hunter Biden. The Department of Justice appointing David Weiss as a special counsel. At the same time, we heard that prosecutors say there's been an impasse on his plea agreement and that this is likely to head to a trial. What do you make of these developments?
Well, it's significant because at a time of economic challenges to the country, we seem to be focused on Donald Trump's past, Hunter Biden's past, and the American people are wondering, when are we going to get over this? And when are we going to focus on issues that affect the average American? There's a real decline in trust and confidence in Washington, in the belief that the elected officials do what the public wants, do what they promise. The level of perception of integrity is at an all-time low. And this is one of the reasons that they're focused on these trials, focused on these accusations. Now, make no mistake, one of the highest values in America is accountability. And the public does want the former president to be held accountable if he broke the law, and the same thing with Hunter Biden. But the fact is that this is a distraction from the current issues, both domestic and foreign policy, that the public prioritizes more.
I do want to ask you about Republican voters and how they will take this news of Hunter Biden's case, because they have cried foul about what they see as the politicization of the Department of Justice. Will this move, appointing a special counsel and possibly seeing a trial, change that perception?
Well, they don't call it politicization, they call it weaponization.
Yeah.
And their complaint is that there's a double standard, that there's excuses for issues that affect the Bidens, but that it seems to Republicans like Donald Trump is being persecuted. Once again, the public wants a free and fair trial situation. And they want to know what the truth is. And they don't know what the truth is. But Republicans are always going to believe that they're being mistreated. Democrats are always going to believe that they're being mistreated. It's an example of the extreme polarization that has hit America. And I give one warning to the people of the UK. Don't go down this road, because you are not going to like the consequences if you do.
So you're saying, Frank, if I understand correctly, that the voters you speak to really are not that interested in these cases?
The extreme partisans are, because it's a chance to own and get even and get revenge with the enemy. But the 60% that are in the middle couldn't give a damn, to be blunt. They're focused on the economy. They're focused on being able to afford a home and afford insurance and afford to drive to work. And the idea that there's this constant prosecution for the partisans on the left and the partisans on the right, it matters to a great deal. For the 60% in the center, it doesn't matter at all.
Okay, so what can someone like the current President Joe Biden or the former President Donald Trump do to speak specifically then to that 60%?
They choose not to. Yeah, what could they do? They could actually speak to them, but they're not interested. Joe Biden, whenever he gets a chance, tries to refer negatively to the MAGA Republicans. Whenever the Republicans get a chance to attack Hunter Biden, they do. And I understand it from a political perspective. But from a governing perspective, it's one of the reasons why the Americans are fed up with the Democrats and Republicans. And to take this to 2024, it's why the vast majority of Americans don't want Trump, don't want Biden. They want somebody else. They do not want a rerun of 2020 all over again.
And Frank, one more question about the former president specifically, because we saw the special counsel's office request a trial date of January 2nd. That would actually put a trial right in the middle of the Iowa caucuses. Is there any possibility that the schedule of these trials could actually start to interfere with his popularity among Republican voters.
Well, here's the amazing thing that's going to make everyone's head explode. The more that you accuse Donald Trump, the higher his numbers go. The more that you indict him, the more popular he becomes. There are over 70 indictments, and we still haven't heard from Georgia yet. That could come in the next 3 or 4 weeks. You're going to have these trials that are ongoing all throughout 2024. He's going to have to be running between state and state and state when he's going to be running to try to become president. And we've never, ever been in this situation before. This is truly uncharted territory in American politics.
Yeah, uncharted territory indeed. Franklin, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us on BBC News.